With less than a week to go until the Survivor Series, this was the final Raw before WarGames. We had no CM Punk on the show tonight, no Seth Rollins on the show. I thought maybe we would get some follow-up to what Rollins thought of the big announcement that CM Punk will be teaming with Roman Reigns to take on the other Bloodline on Saturday. But neither man was on the show tonight. They're saving the Bloodline developments for Friday. What we did find out tonight is that Roman Reigns and CM Punk are going to have a sit-down. They're going to have a meeting of the minds on Friday night. They're going to feel each other out, see if they can trust one another. That will be the big development on Friday. Tonight it was about the women and the women's WarGames match, because we had a pretty big development on Friday night when one member of Team Rhea got taken out. And that was Jade Cargill, who was left for dead. Somebody knocked off Jade. We don't know who. And they released the list of injuries. Jade Cargill, I mean, my goodness. I don't have it in front of me, but this woman, she's going to be out for a while. And apparently the angle was shot because she suffered a legitimate injury. And we don't know what the injury is, how serious it is. Supposedly she is supposed to be out for a few months. So that's what they decided to do to cover for that. And because of that, not only is she out of the women's U.S. title tournament on SmackDown, but she is now out of WarGames, which means there was a spot left to be filled. And they have the women advantage match in the main event with Bianca Belair and Nia Jax. And at the very end of it all, we saw Bayley make an appearance, and Bayley gave Bianca the assist. Now, Bianca does not like Bayley. Bianca and Bayley do not get along. But tonight, Bianca had a smile on her face when she saw Bayley. She got the win, and so the baby faces are now going into Survivor Series with the woman advantage. And it appears, it's not official yet, but it appears Bayley will in fact be the fifth and final participant on the babyface side, as I figured she would be. She's the name that made the most sense, right? A spot opens up. Bayley has no spot on the show. Well, now she does. Naomi will be very happy about that. Of course, begs the question of who knocked off Naomi. Wade Barrett on commentary was talking about, well, it would only make sense for it to be somebody from Team Liv. Of course, that's what they want you to think. It's either Bayley or Naomi. I've been flip-flopping back and forth in my head, but on the podcast, I said Bayley. Bayley, though, seems like the more obvious of the two choices if you're going to do Bayley or Naomi. Honestly, it could go either way. But if you think about it, it makes sense that Bayley felt left out. Now she doesn't have to feel so left out, because it looks like she's going to end up being the fifth woman in WarGames. We'll see how that plays out. The big story tonight, though, I wasn't sure if they were doing it tonight. They're not. They weren't doing it tonight. They're saving it for next week. We know that the New Day is going to be celebrating their 10-year anniversary. They're dedicating an entire episode of Raw, which is not literally going to be the entire episode, but the theme of the show will be celebrating 10 years of the New Day. That will be next Monday night. Well, heading into the big anniversary next Monday night, we had a meltdown. We had an implosion in the back, a war of words. No physicality, but a war of words between Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods that was better than anything the New Day has done in years. This was an impassioned back and forth. They were letting it all out. They were letting all their emotions out, and it made for great television. And I can't wait to talk about this segment because it was the best thing on the entire show, and it has me very much looking forward now to what they are going to do on next week's show. But that was the highlight of the night. We also had a couple of new matches announced for Survivor Series. About time. We came into tonight, we had 3 matches announced. 2 of those were WarGames matches. We had a couple of championship matches that were added, including the Intercontinental title and the United States Championship. LA Knight and Shinsuke Nakamura, that is now official. That will take place at Survivor Series. And for the IC title, it will be Bron Breakker, Sheamus, and Ludwig Kaiser. They're going to have a triple threat match. So both titles will be represented on Saturday. But there was also some news coming out of the show tonight because I mentioned the Women's United States Championship. They're going to crown the first ever Women's U.S. Champion on Saturday night's main event. That's coming up on December 14th. They're already actively involved in a tournament right now on Fridays, but it's SmackDown exclusive. And when they announced the participants in the tournament, and there were no Raw names included, which I was kind of hoping there would be, it made it pretty clear that we were going to get a women's Intercontinental title at some point. I figured that they would at least wait until the first champion was crowned on the SmackDown side before they made any kind of announcement. But they didn't wait. And Adam Pearce was out there in the ring tonight to unveil the brand new women's Intercontinental Championship, as you can see here. What a wonderfully creative design here. And honestly, I mean, look, it's not a bad design. It's just that you get tired after a while of seeing the same shit. But when you saw the women's U.S. title on SmackDown, you had to know that the IC would look just like this. Look, I'm just glad they got blue in it. I'm just glad they added blue to the belts, but there it is. It's the same Intercontinental title you see every week, but on a white strap instead of a black strap. And we don't know all the details yet. We don't know all of the participants. We do know, Adam Pearce did say that next week is when the tournament is going to kick off. It will be a tournament. My guess is it'll work the exact same way, where they do a series of triple threat matches, and maybe they'll crown both champions on Saturday night's main event. I think they may do the finals for both tournaments on that show, but they did not make that clear. They just unveiled the title and indicated that the tournament will begin next week. And so when I see this, as I look at that title there, people are going to ask the question, too many titles, right? We talk about AEW, and I joke a lot about AEW and how there's so many championships. Now, the difference with AEW also is the fact that there's so many championships coming in and out from people representing other companies because they work with other promotions, which is something WWE does not do with the main roster. You know, NXT, they let them do whatever they want. So you can have the TNA Knockouts champion on NXT. You don't see that on Raw and SmackDown. But on Dynamite, on Collision, you'll have their champions, and you'll have CMLL, and you'll have Ring of Honor, and you'll have New Japan, and you'll have, what was that title? The women's title that I used to joke about. Oh, what was it called? I forgot. There's so many titles, though. It's just ridiculous. Now we're in territory here with WWE where you could say the same thing. There's so many titles. If ever there was a time for them to abandon the women's tag team titles, which have really just been a tool for them to use in the story of Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. Let's be honest. I mean, that's really the only reason why they're the tag team champions. Not a doubt in my mind that they at least were planning on building to a match between them at WrestleMania. That match may now be in jeopardy. We don't know when Jade is going to be back or if she comes back. There may not be enough time, even if she's back before Mania, for them to build to a match between her and Bianca. So it's very possible that's not going to happen now. And it could delay whatever plans they may have had. But the timing could not be any better. If they are hell-bent on introducing these new women's mid-card championships, there is no need for the women's tag team titles. In my opinion, it just renders those titles even more useless than they already were. And now that Jade is hurt, and we don't know what they're going to do with the women's tag team titles, they may have to vacate them. Timing could not be any better. Let them silently wash away. You introduce the U.S. title on SmackDown, the Intercontinental title on Raw, and we just forget that the tag team titles even exist. There really is no need for them if the focus is going to be now on establishing these two mid-card titles. That's where the focus should be. You got your world championships, and now you have these two mid-card titles, and that's it. Put those tag team titles on ice, at least for a while. You don't want to completely junk them and permanently retire them. Put them on the back burner, deactivate them, because there's just no need for them. Because now you are in that territory where it's like, all right, this is getting ridiculous now. And it's not like their track record of utilizing all their female talent to the best of their ability is all that great. You know, if Triple H had this great track record of doing all these wonderful things with the women on Raw and SmackDown, I might have a different attitude about it. But let's be honest here. That's not going to happen. So the timing is perfect. The timing is perfect. Will they do it? That's a different story. Let's talk about this show. This is your Monday Night Raw review here for November 25th, 2024. I am the Solomonster.
I am the learning.
And I am the learning tree. Always. Then, now, and forever. Fuck that tree. And of course, it's our boy Matt. Chiming in, not first. I was going to say chiming in first, but actually not chiming in first, because I got to show some love to Fire Panda, who dropped a big $50 plus bomb before I went live tonight. We do have a goal. We can set goals now in the live chat. So I figured, why not? There is a super chat goal. If we get 5 magenta colored super chats, which is 50 and above, should we hit the goal tonight to do Be the Booker, we'll do a bonus round of Be the Booker. So if we get 4 more magentas, we'll do 2 Be the Bookers tonight. So that is the goal. But yeah, super chats are open. I will be reading them as they come in a little bit later on in the stream. So I thank you for the support. Means a lot. Also, hit that sub button if you are new here. Subscribe to the channel. I think you may enjoy your stay. And hit that like button as well. And I also want to say thank you to the people who left some kind feedback for me on the video. It was a segment from the podcast this weekend. And it's up on the YouTube channel now. Solomonster addresses the AEW sickos. I had a little something to say. So that is up on the channel now. It's not terribly long. It's just 10 minutes. Had some things I had to get off my chest. Thank you for the feedback. If you missed it, you can go check it out when we're done here. I said what I said. I feel better now. Now we can move on. Let's talk about this Raw show tonight, because we have the World Heavyweight Champion Gunther making his entrance to open the show. Jackie Redmond, a little bit different here, because Jackie Redmond was standing in the ring. Usually she's in the back, but she was in the ring to interview Gunther. And she said, first, let's set up some footage here from last week. Gunther was in the back. He was sneaking up on Damian Priest. If you remember that segment from last week, Damian Priest was just randomly sitting in the back at a table that happened to be nearby where Gunther was, and he was signing autographs. And Gunther put him in a sleeper hold. And he ended up being dropped by Damian Priest. So now we come back. And Gunther, he looked a little rattled after watching the footage back. And Jackie said that, his WWE career so far has been dominant, but it's been a little bit different since he lost that match to Cody Rhodes at Crown Jewel. And she wanted him to comment on that. Before he could say anything, though, Damian Priest came out. And he had Jackie hand her microphone to Gunther, so she left. And Gunther could speak for himself. Priest said that Gunther wants everybody to think that the old Gunther is back, but they both know that's not true. Priest said that Gunther has never had to deal with a problem like him before. And he questioned what would happen if the ring general were to go in there at Survivor Series and lose to a guy from the street. So Priest mentioned that it was Gunther's interview time, though. He encouraged him to say something. And Gunther held the mic up like he was going to say something. He ended up not saying anything. Instead, it looked like he was going to leave. But he immediately turned around and he hit Priest in the head twice with the microphone. Took him outside the ring. He cleared off the announce desk. Priest, though, fought back. He ran Gunther into the ring post, and then he picked him up, and he gave him a razor's edge through the announce desk. And he stood tall over Gunther, holding up the World Heavyweight Championship. A very straightforward segment. We never heard anything from Gunther. He never even spoke. And this is now the second week in a row, maybe third, that Damian Priest has stood up to this man. He has stood tall. And Gunther has stood down. And it has not worked out well for him. Really, ever since the loss to Cody Rhodes, the story they're telling is that he has lost his confidence. He's lost his mojo. He doesn't have the same swagger that he used to have. Damian Priest, meanwhile, is the exact opposite. He's all swagger when he walks out. He's a little too confident. I wouldn't be putting my money on Damian Priest winning the World Heavyweight Championship on Saturday. Things have gone too well for him over the last couple of weeks, including here. But it had to, because this is the story that they want to tell going into Survivor Series. It wouldn't have made any sense for Gunther to leave him laying if the story is that he's off his game And this may not be the same man that we knew before, right? You need him to be at a disadvantage going into the pay-per-view on Saturday. So it played out exactly the way that I figured it would. Wouldn't have made a lot of sense, really, to do it any other way. It's very predictable. I don't know that anybody thinks that he's going to lose that championship. The only question is, does he lose, Priest that is, does he lose the match clean, like Gunther did to Cody at Crown Jewel? Or are we going to see the Judgment Day get involved? And if history is any indication, Finn Balor and the Judgment Day are going to get involved. But at some point, I'm sure on Saturday, Gunther will have to kind of reclaim the old Gunther, and I think we'll see that at Survivor Series. Now, they aired footage of the Jade Cargill injury from SmackDown, the injury angle, where she was basically laid out dead on that car, smashed windshield, face was all bruised up. We have no idea what happened to this woman. Wade Barrett said there is no timetable for Jade's return, so now we come backstage live. And Naomi is with Bianca Belair, and they're talking about Jade. Naomi is glowing, okay? The jacket that she's wearing, literally, it is glowing. It's like blinding me. And they're talking about Jade. And Bianca says that Jade is banged up. It's bad. She's going to be gone for a minute. But she said that they're going to have to pick a fifth person now to replace her on their team for WarGames. Once they find out who did this to her, they'll take care of that person. So again, Naomi is talking about the need for a fifth woman. Io Sky walks up. She's going to be on their team on Saturday. She pitches Kairi Sane for the spot. And Bianca is not interested in this. Bianca is not enamored with the idea of having another member of Damage Control. She's having PTSD from all the years that she was tortured and tormented by Damage Control. Having one member of Damage Control is bad enough. She cannot subject herself to having two. So then Naomi pitches Bayley. And Bianca did not like that idea either because Bianca doesn't like Bayley. She doesn't trust her. She doesn't like her. So, of course, she's not interested in that. And Naomi is making her pitch. You know, Bayley, though, she's been involved in the mix with Nia lately and Tiffany and Candice, just like us. Bianca doesn't want to hear it. Rhea Ripley walks up, looking like Batman. She has her Batman mask on to protect her eye socket. And she said whoever the person is just has to stay out of her way and carry their weight. And Bianca said, well, since this is Team Rhea, and she's getting all up in Rhea's face here, she asked if Rhea had any suggestions. And Naomi is standing in between them, and you could see Naomi looking over at Rhea, and she's mouthing the word like Bayley. She's mouthing Bayley to Rhea. And Rhea says she couldn't care less so long as that person leaves Liv Morgan for her. So Bianca sarcastically applauded her leadership skills, and she said, look, I'm going to go get ready for the advantage match against Nia later tonight. You figure it out. And I mentioned Jade possibly being out for... The reporting is that she may be out for at least 3 months. If that is the case, and if there's a better than decent chance that she may have to miss WrestleMania, then I'm all in favor of a Rhea Ripley Bianca Belair match in Las Vegas or WrestleMania 41. I'm casting my vote right now. In the absence of Jade Cargill, I would like to see Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. That is a WrestleMania match. That is a WrestleMania match. That's a WrestleMania match that could potentially headline night 1 of WrestleMania, depending on the card. It depends on, you know, what year it happens and what the big attractions are. Obviously, if The Rock is going to be involved in something, you know, or Stone Cold is going to be involved in something, then maybe they get night 1. But Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, I mean, again, that is a big enough women's match, and it's not been done before, you know, certainly not on a big stage like that. I guess in NXT it was done, but you could potentially headline a WrestleMania. Now, that to me, as far as the women's division is concerned, when I think of that division, Raw and SmackDown, I mean, there's no bigger match than that. So that gets my vote if Jade is not back in time.
I am the Lord.
Shut the fuck up.
Hey, it's George. fuck that tree. It's our boy George. I didn't say boy. Did I say boy George? Boy George. George Seckman, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yes, Yuri says Rhea versus Bianca
It's the amazing
would be awesome.
Gunther.
Oh, look who's back.
Jerry Lawler loves Gunther, the Magnificent.
I fixed it.
All hail Gunther.
I fixed it. Bobby's World with the Gunther bomb. Yeah, for whatever reason, oh boy, last week it wasn't triggering the Gunther one, so I fixed it. I had to get rid of the $45 one, so now that seems to have fixed the problem. Bobby and Alex, thank you very much. And I'm going to be getting to your super chat. So we're almost halfway with the goal here. That super chat goal. We're 2 out of 5 on the magentas so far. So let's see what happens. But let's get into this tag team match here. We had Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee representing the LWO, taking on the Creed brothers. This was a tornado tag team match. We'll skip ahead to after the break. Nothing really happened before the break. Julius hit Rey with a 450 splash. Dragon Lee broke up the cover. Hit a tornado DDT, and then Brutus broke up that cover. Creed set up Dragon Lee for a superplex. Rey, though, tripped them both by hitting a 619, which took their legs out from underneath them. So now the Creeds were caught in the ropes. They were hanging there waiting, and Dragon Lee came off the top with a double stomp to the both of them. Rey hit Brutus with a diving splash. Julius blocked Dragon Lee's dive, drove him into the side of the ring. Rey then set Julius up for a 619. Brutus got in the way. So Rey tosses Brutus Creed towards the referee, who sort of gets trapped, like in the corner. And Brutus takes the referee. And so with the referee distracted here by Brutus, Chad Gable appears outside the ring on the apron. And he grabs Rey Mysterio by the head. And at first I thought he was ripping his mask off. He twists the mask around. So now Rey can't see because the eye holes are behind him. So Rey can't see. Julius then schoolboys Rey, and he gets the pin. Apparently, Rey Mysterio was rendered unable to kick out because his mask was turned around. I don't know why. I guess it zapped him of all of his strength, but he was unable to kick out. At least American Made won a match. This doesn't happen very often. They actually got a win here. Now, there were some awkward spots here in this match, especially with Rey and Julius. There was some hesitation there. It felt like at a few spots. Otherwise, it was fine. You know, nothing great. It was fine. They're still building, though, to a Chad Gable Rey Mysterio singles match, which I'm looking forward to, and I sound like a broken record here. I will probably look like an idiot when it actually happens, but I feel Chad Gable needs to win that match. Rey Mysterio loses nothing by putting over Chad Gable. If you look at the LWO and you look at American Made, you tell me, who needs that win more? There's your answer. So whenever they do that match, I'll be pulling for Chad Gable. I know every single time I do, I end up looking like a moron, but I'll be pulling for Chad Gable in that match. Now, I also have noticed something in these last several weeks, and it was obvious here too. Brutus Creed. Brutus Creed has been acting like a goof. He'll point and laugh at his opponents. He has this weird hyena-like cackle. Even after they won here, he was doing the same thing. So basically now he's playing the role of like the goofy little brother to Julius. So I get maybe they're just trying to distinguish the two of them from one another. You know, if they had kind of this badass aura before, they don't really, have it now. Well, they don't have it now anyway because they've been losing. It's kind of hard to look at Brutus that way if he's acting like a goofball, but again, I think they're just trying to distinguish the two of them from each other. The Judgment Day met in the back, and R-Truth showed up. He was apparently trying to avoid Butch, who was looking for him, and Finn Balor was not happy about seeing R-Truth there. He threatened him, and Truth got upset. He said Thanksgiving was off, and he left. Which reminds me, as you can see there in the corner, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving this week. This is a festive week. This is a holiday week. I am thankful that all of you are here with me tonight. What are you thankful for? Let me know in the chat. What are you thankful for? Balor was upset now. He told Liv Morgan that her team needed to get the advantage tonight, considering their opponents in WarGames are a pretty powerful team. I mean, you got Bianca Belair, you got Rhea Ripley, you got Io Sky. They're all going to be on the same team. So he wants them to get the advantage. He was also upset with Dom, but he wanted to be positive. He said, you know what? You and Carlito, you did a good job in softening up the War Raiders for us, because tonight they were defending their World Tag Team titles against the Vikings. So he gave them praise for softening them up. He said they were good team players. That teamwork would help him and JD remain the tag team champions. Liv and Raquel, he said, will win WarGames, and it would be a great week for the Judgment Day. He said when they listened to him, the Judgment Day would be one big, successful, happy family. I don't know about that. But he sounded pretty sure of himself. I would say it's not going to work out that way. We had Bron Breakker against Ludwig Kaiser. Now, this stems from last week. Bron Breakker defended the Intercontinental title against Sheamus. Kaiser interfered, so we had no winner. So that led to this match here. Bron Breakker, once again, has new music. I have lost track of how many times this man's music has been changed, tweaked in some way. They changed this man's music the way people change their socks. I just wish they would settle on one and be done with it. I never know what to expect when he comes out. I don't know what to expect. I really don't. Early in the match, Kaiser went out to the floor. Breakker followed out to the outside. And he does this thing. Kaiser does too, the run around the ring. Funny enough, they both do it. And Braun Strowman. When Bron Breakker got outside, he was about to do his run around the ring. He was going to charge at Ludwig Kaiser, who was over by the announce desk. And Kaiser got out of the way. And Braun was coming in for a spear. And he collided with the side of the announce desk. But that doesn't even do it justice. This wasn't that he collided with the announce desk. He basically, he fucking impaled himself, is what he damn near did. He collided with the very edge, not even the side, like the pointy edge of the table at like 30 miles an hour. I mean, it looked brutal. And he's lucky he didn't impale himself for real. He went down, he was selling it. I hope he was just selling. And they went to a commercial break. They replayed it a bunch of times when they came back. This was fucking scary. Because he's so quick. He's so fast. And he collided with it. Everything with him is so intense. You know, he's just so intense, which is an aspect of him that I like. But my God, I mean, this could have been very bad. So Breakker, he worked the match like a babyface, which he pretty much was by default because Kaiser clearly was the heel and the fans think that Braun's a badass. So they were rooting for him. They were saying, let's go Braun. They were cheering for him. He was able to make a comeback here, like he was hulking up. So he made a comeback. He hit his top rope Frankensteiner. He let out a scream before going for a spear. Kaiser, though, caught him with a step-up enziguri. Breakker then crawled from the apron out onto the ring steps. Kaiser rolls outside, and now Kaiser, not to be outdone, is teasing that he is going to do his run around the ring. We've seen him do this before as well, where he'll go around the ring, and he'll usually slam into somebody up against the ring steps. All right, remember the first time he did that I can remember, he did that to Kofi Kingston many months ago. He's done it to Sheamus. He's done it to a bunch of people. As he's setting up to begin his run, you see running down the aisle towards the ring is Sheamus in his street clothes. And here comes Sheamus, and he nails Kaiser from behind. The referee instantly calls for the bell for the disqualification. Sheamus is working over Kaiser until Bron Breakker comes over and pulls him off. Now Sheamus, he shoves Breakker. Now they start getting into it. And here come a bunch of officials and producers to get in between them to try to separate them. So they come back from the break, and now they're still brawling. All three of them now, Kaiser included. They're on the stage. They're in the staging area over there, and they're all brawling, and they're trying to keep these guys apart. Wade Barrett mentioned that they had gone backstage, but then they came back out. So now here comes Adam Pearce, the Raw general manager, and he blew his stack. He's screaming, and he's losing his mind, telling them to stop. And finally, he says, all three of you, you want it? You got it. All three of you are going to be in a triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship at Survivor Series. So they have made that match official. I said this in my predictions when I did the Survivor Series predictions on 889 yesterday. There's only 3 matches announced for Survivor Series coming into tonight. Last year, we had 5 matches. So I figured this week they were going to add 2 more. We got those 2 on the show tonight because they've already made it official that LA Knight is going to wrestle Shinsuke Nakamura for the U.S. title. But I said, if only one of the 2 mid-card titles get added to the show, let it be the Intercontinental title. Knight defended his championship at Crown Jewel a few weeks ago. The Intercontinental title has not been defended on a PLE since SummerSlam. That title hardly ever gets love on these big shows. So if nothing else, they should add a triple threat match to Survivor Series. And we ended up getting both matches added. So now officially we have 5 matches. It doesn't look like Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens are going to do anything on that show in the ring. They may have a segment of some kind. But they've already officially announced Cody and KO for the championship December 14th at Saturday night's main event. So they're not even going to bother, it seems like, going through the idea of, well, Kevin Owens doesn't deserve a title match after what he did to Randy Orton. He's got to go through Cody first in a non-title match. Then maybe he wins, then he earns a title. They're just giving him a title shot. Okay. Tried to end Randy Orton's career. He's been rewarded with a WWE Championship match on Saturday night's main event. So yes, it doesn't look like Cody Rhodes is going to be on this show. I do wonder if at least one of the reasons why they were okay with not including Cody on that show. They're going to be in Canada. They're going to be in Vancouver. I know Owens is not from Vancouver, but, when you're Canadian and you're up in Canada, it's a point of pride. I get it. You're going to be beloved. Kevin Owens is going to be cheered in Canada if he's doing anything. Maybe they just didn't want Cody to be booed. Very possible that had more to do than anything else with why Cody Rhodes is not booked for Survivor Series. As of this moment, he is not. Maybe they just did not want to run the risk of him going in there and being booed. Although somebody did point out to me, and I don't remember who it was, they did point out to me, though, that Cody sometimes on Twitter will put out these graphics that list out all of the cities he's going to be appearing in for the month. And even like a month ago, he was listing out all these cities for November, and apparently Vancouver was not even listed there. So I don't know. Maybe this was something they knew about a long time ago, but I just feel like they don't want him to be booed. Cody's their golden boy. It's like Kevin Owens said in his promo, the golden boy, Cody Rhodes, right? They don't want him to be booed. They don't want a John Cena-like situation here where he goes in there and gets a negative reaction. Otherwise, I don't understand why you don't have your WWE champion on one of your big shows of the year. Kathy Kelly interviewed Sami Zayn, Jimmy Uso, and Jey Uso in the locker room and asked them about CM Punk joining their team for WarGames. If you missed that, which I'm sure you all saw it by now, they did that great closing segment on SmackDown on Friday night where Paul Heyman returned and he announced there will be a 5th man for WarGames, and out comes CM Punk, and everybody loses their mind. I should talk about this here for a moment because today, November 25th, to the day 1 year ago, is the day that CM Punk returned to WWE after 10 years away. He returned at Survivor Series last year. And a lot has happened in the last 12 months. Punk came in with a lot of baggage. He came in after a lot of drama in AEW. He was Tony Khan's crown jewel of his roster. Tony Khan, from the moment he conceived of AEW, made it very clear that if there was one man he wanted, it was CM Punk. And then he finally got him in 2021. And CM Punk did make a difference in AEW's business. They did their first $1 million buy rate, or a million, what was it? Not buy rate, first $1 million gate, I believe, under CM Punk. Ratings went up. And you could understand why, because part of it is just, frankly, the novelty of Punk being gone for so long. He was one of the biggest stars in wrestling, and then, boom, he was gone. 10 years go by, right? That just doesn't happen. When you're at the peak of your game like that, you don't just vanish and disappear. So him coming back was a very big deal. Although at that point, it was like 7 years. He had been gone for about 7 years. And he had that match with Darby at the first show, and he had that great feud with MJF, and he had wrestled Eddie Kingston, and all these different things that he was involved in. And then we all know the rest of the story. We all know how, basically the whole thing, it just shit the bed. And then he gets fired. And Triple H did not hesitate. Nick Khan did not hesitate to make that deal to bring him in. And there were a lot of questions about how this was going to work out, because it just seemed like it was problem after problem. This was a WWE that was very different than the one that CM Punk left. And it's this well-oiled machine, and they don't tolerate any drama. You don't hear about backstage brawls. You don't hear about stuff like that the way that you used to. And the fact is that WWE is a hot product right now, and they don't live and die based on one person, unless you're Roman Reigns. They don't live and die just based on their, one big star. They can get rid of you, and I feel like the product could still continue to sell out buildings and make their millions, right? The product is just hot right now. It won't be hot like this forever. But there's no one person who is bigger than the company. It's not like they needed CM Punk. They were already doing well. So it was a risk bringing him in. There were people on that roster who did not want him there. There were people on that roster who have a history with him, who don't like him, genuinely still don't like him, and probably don't want to work with him. So it was a risk to bring him in. But now, we look back on it now. It's been 12 months. And unfortunately, his first match, the Royal Rumble, he got hurt. So he wasn't able to wrestle for about 6 months. And then we got the whole Drew McIntyre storyline out of that, which turned out to be one of the best things on WWE television all year. Even though Punk couldn't wrestle, he could speak. And that's really where he, made his money. It was on his mouth, right? Cutting those promos, dropping pipe bombs. So we got great television involving Punk that didn't even involve him being in the ring. But then to pay off that feud, we had that Hell in a Cell match of Bad Blood, which was a tremendous match, one of the best WWE matches all year. And I'm sure for him, it was validation, because there were a lot of people who thought this is going to blow up in their faces, or he's 45, he's coming off 2 major injuries, and so can his body hold up, right? Can his body hold up to an entire year in WWE? We still don't know the answer to that, because he missed most of the year. But he was in a pretty fucking grueling match with Drew McIntyre, and he made it out okay. So I don't see how you can look at this run that he's had, injury aside, even with the injury, as anything but A+. It's been a great first year. WWE have made a lot of money off CM Punk. CM Punk has made a lot of money off going back to WWE. He's got fucking Larry merchandise now. Even Larry the dog is making merchandise now. He's making residuals. Larry's going to be getting those residual checks now for the next few years. It's been A+ so far. And for their sake, I hope it continues. Because when Punk is around and he's on his best behavior, there are big money matches to be done with him. Even look at what they did on Friday night, adding him to WarGames, teasing now. We're going to have a face-to-face with him and Roman Reigns on Friday. Roman Reigns and CM Punk is a huge match. It's just waiting to happen in 2025. It may not be at WrestleMania. Maybe that's a SummerSlam match. Maybe that's a WrestleMania 42 match. But that's going to be a big match all by itself. You got Punk and Roman, custody of Paul Heyman, right? Where does Paul's allegiance lie? You've got Punk and Seth Rollins. I would love to see Punk and Kevin Owens. I'm sure Owens I don't know if Owens wants to work with him, but that's got to be a match that we get at some point. There's a lot of different things that you could be doing with CM Punk. But He has to be on his best behavior. He has to stay healthy. So far, he's been able to do that as far as getting along with everybody. Hopefully, the injury he suffered at the beginning of the year is the worst of it. And they can go out and make money and put together some big matches. Because certainly what they did at the end of SmackDown on Friday, it made for a very exciting ending to the show. But I did want to just talk about that because, again, it has been a year. And to think where Punk was just a couple of years ago when he first came back and went to AEW, and now to see what he's doing in WWE, I don't think anybody would have expected that or predicted that. But here we are. And it was Tony Khan's loss clearly is WWE's gain. And I will die on the hill that, Tony Khan made the call that had to be made, but what led to that is something that he also bears a lot of responsibility for. So I don't feel bad for Tony because I do think it was a situation that was really in many ways of his own making. But then ultimately he was put in a very difficult spot where he had to make the most difficult decision he's ever made running that company, which is, I got to let my biggest star go. And he knew what that meant. He knew exactly where Punk was going to end up. And I'm sure it just eats him alive inside every single time Punk comes out there and they get a big reaction or there's some big angle or promo or something he's involved in. And he probably gets tweets about it too from people being smartasses. That could have been yours, And he's got to live with that now. He's got to live with that forever. But this has been an A+ run so far. We'll see what 2025 brings us. But back to the Bloodline here. They were talking about Punk. And Sammy said that they were shocked when he came out there on Friday night. He never thought in a million years that CM Punk would be the fifth man. He said Punk is a complicated guy, and anyone who has history with him has a complicated history with him, including Roman Reigns. Sammy said that he was told that Roman and Punk are going to sit down and talk on Friday. He said that he wants to trust Punk, but he wondered if they could. So then Jimmy piped up. And Jimmy Uso said that, of course they could trust Punk. They could trust Punk because the wise man said that it was okay to do so. Oh boy. Uh-oh. I don't like the sounds of that. Oh, the wise man said it's okay, so of course we can trust him, really. I don't know. Between that and how Paul came out dressed in the black and red on Friday, I'm a little suspicious of this. Jimmy said they just need Jay to win the advantage match because he's going to have a match with Jacob Fatu on SmackDown this Friday. And the winner of that will get the advantage for their team in WarGames. So Jay cut this fiery promo here saying that he's going to whoop Jacob Fatu's ass and then that they would all go to war on Saturday. And that was all we got tonight as far as the men's WarGames match, which is the real main event of that show. They're obviously saving the big stuff for SmackDown on Friday, which was already taped. I don't know if the Roman and Punk thing, I'm assuming that wasn't in front of the crowd, or we would have heard about that. Because I haven't checked the spoilers or anything like that, so that could very well just be a backstage segment. Maybe it didn't even air in front of the live crowd. I don't know. We'll see what format that takes. I hope it is some kind of a sit-down thing. I don't think you need the crowd for that. You can get them in a room, literally. I think of Jim Ross with Austin and Rock before WrestleMania 17 when they did that sit-down interview. You get Roman and Punk in a room together, whether it's like an interview format with somebody sitting between them or just the two of them face-to-face, sitting on the couch. It's really all it needs to be. We had Finn Balor and JD McDonough. 154 days as the World Tag Team Champions, defending their titles against the War Raiders. This is an embarrassment. The fact that these two have been Tag Team Champions, do you know how many title defenses they've had in those 154 days? One. Pathetic. So they went to break a minute into this match. War Raiders were in control. When they came back from the break, they were not in control. Make of that what you will. I don't know. I don't know how the Judgment Day regained control, but they did. They targeted Eric's surgically repaired neck, and McDonough gave him a neck breaker. Ivar eventually got the hot tag, He ran wild on McDonough. They hit McDonough with an assisted power slam, but Balor barely broke up the cover. Dominic and Carlito, they ran out, and they jumped up on the apron. Raiders knocked them off. So the Raiders hit McDonough with their War Machine finish. They had the match won. Dominic, though, he reaches in, he grabs McDonough's foot, he places it on the rope. And so they get a rope break. Referee sees this. He ejects Dominic. Dominic would not leave, so Eric knocked him and Carlito over. Referee now is distracted. While the referee's attention is turned, on the other side of the ring, Finn Balor, he knocks Ivar off the top rope, and JD McDonough cradles Ivar and folds him up and gets the pin. So the Judgment Day retain the tag team titles. Very disappointing. The match itself, honestly, was pretty disappointing, but the outcome was very disappointing. They need to get these titles off of these two as soon as possible. And because it didn't happen here, my guess is they're waiting until Liv Morgan loses her title. They're probably going to want all the Judgment Day members that have gold to lose them at around the same time. And maybe the whole group at that point will just implode, which I would be okay with. Because the Judgment Day is not what the Judgment Day used to be. The match was nothing special, but the thing is also, this was the second time on this show that we had a tag team match ending with the heels cheating to win off of outside interference. Yeah, so it's one thing to get that on the show. To get that twice on the show within the same hour is ridiculous. And it makes for a lame fucking finish. Now, they at least protected the War Raiders enough. They didn't just get pinned clean, so they tried to protect them, that they could run this back. They may still end up winning the tag team titles. They probably will. I don't know who else they would even go to, honestly. I just hope it's not another 154 days before we get a title defense. There's just no excuse for that. And it doesn't matter whether it happens in WWE, the Young Bucks, right? They won the tag titles in April. I don't think they defended them until July or August. It's just ridiculous. I mean, it's preposterous. It really is. And there's no excuse for it. You're going to put your titles on somebody, unless they're Roman Reigns and they have a part-time schedule and they're not around, you got to defend your fucking titles. Otherwise, what the hell are they doing on them in the first place? It's boring. Nobody wants to see that. We don't need to go another 100 days without a title defense. Now, the New Day's 10-year anniversary celebration was announced for next Monday. Mentioned that earlier. Big E was all over the video, by the way. They were showing a tribute video to them, and obviously Big E was not a part of the Judgment Day. But Ian chiming in with the $32 super chat. Thank you, Ian. I appreciate that. By the way, hold on a second here. I don't know why that keeps happening. The live chat disappears, so I have to reinsert it. So I have clear vision as to what's going on in the chat. There we go. I got you back. This happened last week, where it just goes white. And I have to copy the link, and I got to paste it in. Otherwise, it's just chaos. I have no idea what's going on in the chat. So anyway, Big E was all over the video that they aired for the New Day, but in the graphic for next week's show, it was only Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. They did not show Big E. I am sure that Big E will be on the show next week. I don't see how they could have a New Day 10-year anniversary tribute and not have Big E out there live and being a part of it in some way, shape, or form. So they did not announce it, but I'm sure Big E will be there next week. Anyway, they aired that, and then they cut back to the gorilla position. And we see Woods and Kingston. They're getting ready to go out for their match. And Woods wanted to squash whatever beef that they've had over the past few months. They said they loved each other. Kofi said he was proud of everything they've accomplished. Woods said that next week would be the greatest night of their careers. And Kingston was excited to show everybody what they were all about tonight. Welp, you might want to temper that excitement just a little bit here because it didn't work out too well for these two. It was the New Day against the Alpha Academy. Blink and you missed it, right? Now, in the back, they were getting along just fine, right? They were squashing the beef. Look, brothers fight. Shit happens. But I love you. You love me. And next week is going to be the best night of our careers, right? They're on the same page until they get to the ring. And Kofi is already in the ring. So Kofi is going to start the match. But Woods immediately tags himself in. And this is very frustrating to Kofi Kingston. He doesn't understand why he's doing this. So already they're arguing here at the beginning of this match. Otis nails him with a back elbow. Woods. He nails Woods with a back elbow. And then Tozawa comes off the top rope. Huge flying senton off the top rope onto Woods. And he pins him. A minute into this match. The crowd was stunned by the finish. I was pretty surprised myself. And Otis and Tozawa are celebrating their win. I don't believe, now you correct me if I'm wrong on this, I don't believe that Otis has won a match on Raw all year. I couldn't tell you the last time that Otis won a match on Raw or SmackDown, any main roster show. And technically it was Tozawa who got the pinfall here. But I was like, wow. Even Otis is winning matches on TV and Chad Gable is not. Now, after the match, Wade Barrett said, New Day has hit rock bottom. Kingston and Woods, they're arguing. They're leaving the ring. As they're walking down the aisleway, they're yelling and arguing with each other. They go back to the gorilla position. The camera's following them, and they're still arguing. Through the gorilla position, through the curtain, and just outside the gorilla position, they have that, it's almost like a tunnel, like that little hall or tunnel, whatever you want to call it. They stop there. Okay, they stopped there. This is where the segment took place. We could hear the crowd reacting to what they were saying, but this was an interesting place for them to do this segment here. But this turned out to be the best thing on the entire show. Wood's argument basically was, we had this agreement that you're going to let me run the plays. I run the play. And Kofi's, arguing back, and Woods said that that's Kofi's problem. He never listens. Kofi says, all he has ever done is help Woods. He gave his Intercontinental Championship shot away to him, willingly. When Xavier Woods, he said, was king of the ring, he got down on bended knee and held up his cape. He's always been there to help out Woods. Woods fumbled the title shot, and he fumbled the crown. He said there's a reason that he and Big E never let Woods call the shots. It's because he's too reckless. Now, as he's making these comments, you can hear the crowd in the background. Ooh, they're reacting to this. So Woods tells him, shut up. He goes, shut up. Let me talk. He remembers when Kofi was too terrified, which is why he never got a shot at the big title until he came along. He is the reason that Kofi became WWE champion. Kofi says that, look, I was a Hall of Famer already when you met me and you wanted to bring me into the group. Not the other way around. Woods shouldn't be talking about titles anyway, he says, because you have yet to win a singles championship by yourself. He goes, do you know why you've never been a world champion like me or E? He said, you're just not good enough. That's not my fault. Now, when he said that you're just not good enough, that got the biggest reaction up to this point of anything that was said in this. I mean, they were firing bombs at each other. And honestly, a lot of what Woods was saying, there was a lot of truth, in what Xavier was saying. Not to say that everything Kofi was saying was bullshit, but again, when it comes to the heels, and clearly Woods is going to, he's been playing this more heelish role. But like some of the best heels, Kevin Owens, perfect example of this right now on SmackDown. There's a lot of truth in what Kevin Owens says when he comes out, but it's his way of going about saying it and the things he does, like when he drops Randy Orton on his head, or he beats Cody up outside of his bus, that make him a heel. But there's a lot of truth in what the man is saying. And so here you can understand why Xavier Woods would be so frustrated. And he's talked about this in promos before. Everybody's talking about their titles and the titles they've won. And he's never won a singles championship before. So it's like he feels left out. He feels less than. And he resents that. He doesn't like feeling that way. It's jealousy. Woods says that I was good enough to fight for you. He says I was good enough to take beatings for you, to believe in you, just like the people. Turned it into Kofi Mania. Handed it to you. And then you pissed it away in 6 seconds to Brock Lesnar. That got a reaction. And I believe that's the first time that we've heard Brock's name mentioned on TV all year. And I know people, before they start asking questions, no, I don't think it's indicative of anything. I don't think it means anything. I don't think there's any subliminal message here to Brock Lesnar's name being mentioned on TV. So don't go jumping into conspiracy theories just yet. Now, that comment, though, got under Kofi's skin. And Kofi looked like he wanted to rip this guy to shreds. And there was a lot of tension here. They were face to face. You could hear the crowd. And Kofi says, I swear to God, if it was anyone else. And Woods said, what? What? If it was anyone else, you would finally get mad. So Kofi is just seething. And he tells him, see you at the reunion. Which I thought was an odd way of, like, reunion. That right there tells you Big E is going to be there next week. But I think he misspoke. And then Woods corrected him and said, yeah, I'll see you at the anniversary next week. And Kofi walks off. This segment was so good. And it's so nice because for so long, I would even say years, I'm not even saying months, for years, the last few years, the New Day stuff has been so stale and so fucking boring and played out. And it's hard because they've been together for 10 years. Find me another faction, another group in wrestling that has been together consistently like this. No splits, no breaks in between, no heel turn back to babyface. They have been together consistently for 10 years. That just doesn't happen. It just doesn't. It may never happen again. The way groups are put together and broken up, or they change members like the Judgment Day did. It's a very unique thing. It's like a brotherhood that these three guys have. And after 10 years, there's only so much you could do to keep things interesting. And they're a tag team. And we all know the tag team division has gone through a lot of peaks and valleys here, but the tag team division has been pretty fucking dead for a long time. It's hard to keep things interesting. So the New Day just never had anything terribly interesting to do. Then Big E got hurt, and then it was down to 2 men. You know, you didn't even have Big E. Big E was the most charismatic out of all 3 of them. And he's not even there anymore. They finally hit on something here with the New Day stuff to try to make them interesting. This is the most interesting that they have been in years. And this segment here was the best New Day segment in years. Since I don't even know when. This was great. This was them pouring out their emotion, letting it all out, right? This has been building for months. I thought they would save this for next week. When this was over, I said, shit, if they gave this to us here, what the fuck do they have planned for next week? We got the meltdown here. What are they going to do to try to top this next week? I guess short of just having Woods fucking destroy him, you know? But that's why I think Big E is going to be there. Big E's got to be the voice of reason here. He's got to step in here and say, okay, guys, this can't go on like this, right? You guys are shooting on each other. You're lobbing bombs and Molotov cocktails at each other last week. I heard my name mentioned, and I had to be here because I had to just set you 2 guys straight, right? If anybody can play the role of Peacemaker, it's got to be Big E. That's why he has to be there next week, right? He's on the pre-show panels every single month. If he could be on the pre-show panels, he could be there for a New Day reunion show. He's going to be the most important part of this, the most important piece of this. And the big question is, are they actually going to split these guys up? I don't feel like they're going to, but I think they should. And I think Woods, with everything that Kofi was saying about him here, not that I think they were teasing an Xavier Woods World Heavyweight Championship run, but the idea of him going out on his own and feeling like, okay, you know what? You don't think I can do it? You said I'm not good enough. Those were the key words from Kofi in this promo. The reason that you have not been a champion is because you are not good enough. Why would Xavier Woods not want to go out on his own and prove him wrong? Why would he go in there next week and just be like, all right, you know what? Yeah, we blew up some steam and I didn't mean what I said. I'm sure you didn't mean what you said. And Kofi could be like, no, actually I did. Like, how is he supposed to ignore a comment like that? How does he not feel motivated now to go out on his own and prove him wrong? So I'm fascinated now to see what they're actually going to do next week if they have the guts to actually split these guys up. It's been 10 years. I mean, if ever there was a time to do it, this is it. But to split the New Day up, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do it, but I'll tell you what, I'll be tuned in next week because I want to see what's going to happen here. So what they did here, it hooked me in for next week's show. So this was a thumbs up segment. It was very effective. And again, I can't think of a New Day segment that was as compelling as this one that maybe I've ever seen.
It's the amazing Gunther.
Oh, it's my boy
Jerry
Boots.
Lawler loves Gunther the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Oh, Boots. Dropping a $50 Gunther bomb. You love to see it. We are now 3 out of 5 on the goal, which I think has about 45 minutes left on it. So we're still, we're short, but we're climbing. So thank you for that, Boots. Need 2 more magenta bombs, and you get 2 Be the Bookers tonight. Assuming we get the first one. I haven't checked where we're at as far as the likes. We are at 362. So we still have about 40 more likes to get to Be the Booker round 1. So hit that thumbs up. Let's talk about The Miz. The Miz was in the back. He walks into the Final Testament locker room frantically. And he says, I saw the Wyatt 6. They're here. I saw the Wyatt 6. And Karrion Kross says, yes, but did they see you? And Miz thinks about it and he says, no. And Kross smiles and he says, it's time for us to play some games with the Wyatts. And he told Scarlett, he goes, look, I told you, you got to stay back here for this. And he gave her a kiss. And the Miz says, I think I should stay back here too. And Kross goes to leave. Miz thinks he's going to stay, but AOP grab him and they drag him out of the room with them. So now Scarlett's all by herself. And Scarlett's looking in the mirror and she's doing her lipstick or her makeup or whatever she's doing. And then she notices in the background, back by the door, like behind the door, is Nikki Cross. And then the lights cut out. Abruptly, we cut away from this. When we come back, Miz and the Final Testament are walking in the hallway. They run into Pete Dunne, who wants to know if they've seen R-Truth, and Miz said no. And he invited Dunne to come beat up the Wyatts. He didn't seem interested in that. But they couldn't find the Wyatts. So now they're coming back to the locker room, and Kross is asking, for Scarlett to open the door. Nobody opens the door, so he opens the door. And they walk in and they find Scarlett. She's all out of it. She's sitting on the ground. And Kross walks up to her to find out what happened. And she starts freaking out, and like hitting him and freaking out. And he's trying to like talk to her. What's wrong? What's wrong? Who did this to you? And she says, it was Nikki Cross. And so the camera pans over, he's hugging her and trying to calm her down. And the camera pans over. You see that on the mirror, somebody wrote a message in red lipstick that says, everyone has something to lose. Maybe the biggest thing I was surprised by on the show tonight, because I thought for sure we were going to get the announcement, and we never did. And I'm actually disappointed that we didn't. This was tailor-made for a Survivor Series elimination match. Like the traditional Survivor Series elimination rules match at Survivor Series. Just to give us one. And they said nothing about it. Now, they added 2 championship matches, so we have 5 matches now, which is good. But you can't do one traditional Survivor Series elimination match. You have the Final Testament and The Miz on one side, the Wyatt 6 on the other. I mean, I guess they're not ready to blow it off yet, but you don't have to blow it off, right? Just because you do a Survivor Series elimination match doesn't mean that's the end of the feud. maybe there's still time. They could always add it on social media during the week or put it on the pre-show or something, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. I'm actually disappointed. And it has nothing to do with the Wyatt 6 and the Final Testament. I just think if ever there was a time to do one, you've got the story right here. And it's a way to get those guys on the show, and they didn't do it. I think that sucks. Then they aired a clip from earlier tonight. I mentioned earlier the introduction of the new championship. The way they did this was Adam Pearce actually came out before Raw went on the air tonight. So this wasn't even live on television. Adam Pearce was in the ring, and he unveiled the brand new women's Intercontinental title. And I showed you what the title looks like. I'll show it to you again. Very innovative. This happened before the show went on the air. And he made the announcement that there will be a tournament. It's going to kick off on Raw next week. And that's all he said. He didn't say when the finals would take place. He didn't say who the participants are going to be. They haven't released the brackets. We'll get that information during the week. If I had to venture a guess, we're probably going to get the finals for the U.S. tournament and the IC tournament on Saturday night's main event. I mean, that would make sense to me. You know, why give preferential treatment to one and have the finals on NBC and not the other? Unless they feel there's not enough time, but you got 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. You got plenty of time. The main event of this show was Bianca Belair, one-on-one with Nia Jax. This was to decide the team advantage in the women's WarGames match coming up on Saturday. Hey, Uffman, thank you for those 5 gifted memberships. It's very kind of you. We have 5 new channel members now, thanks to Uffman. So how about that? Nia took control ahead of an early commercial break. She threw Bianca into the barricade. And Bianca fought back. Nia, though, avoided a standing moonsault. Hit a leg drop for 2. Nia followed that with a diving leg drop off the middle rope that also only got her a 2 count. That really should have been a finish. I mean, you got Nia Jax coming off the middle rope with a leg drop. I don't know how that isn't the finish, but it wasn't. So with Nia standing on the middle rope, there was a spot where Bianca press slammed her. And I'm sure she wanted to hold her up for a few seconds, but she had her for like 2 seconds, and she just couldn't do it. So, I mean, Bianca's a strong woman, but look, everyone has their limitations. And so she immediately press slammed her down. Hit a standing moonsault, got a near fall. Nia responded with a Samoan drop, and then she went to the middle rope for the Annihilator. Bianca, though, brought her down with a German suplex. When she did so, Nia ripped off the top turnbuckle pad, which was done to factor into what the finish of the match would be, but it didn't quite go the way they wanted it to. I'll tell you why in a second. So they ended up outside the ring. Nia ended up giving her a Samoan drop. They weren't standing on the announce desk, but she kind of just fell backwards and gave Bianca a Samoan drop on the announce desk. The desk did not break. And Nia recognized that that wasn't going to be enough for a countout, so she drove Bianca into the steel steps. I'm sure that the idea was the table would break and that would be enough. And when it didn't, she said, okay, let me throw you into the steel steps instead. So now Nia's back in the ring and she's posing on the middle rope, ready to celebrate her countout victory. Referee's counting Bianca, but has his back turned and doesn't see that Bayley has emerged at ringside, and Bayley ends up tripping Nia. Now, I mentioned the turnbuckle pad was exposed. I think the idea here for the spot was that she would yank Nia down, and Nia would fall face down on the exposed turnbuckle. Only it didn't really work out that way. And Nia just fell straight down, like in a seated position, and her face never connected with the exposed steel. So whatever the idea was here, it didn't work out. So now Nia's down. Bianca gets back in the ring, and she spots Bayley at ringside, and Bayley's like, go, 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 like cheering her on, and Bianca actually sports a smile, even though she has no love lost with Bayley. And Bianca goes up, and she hits the 450 splash for the win to secure the advantage for the babyfaces at WarGames. And they were right off the air. No time to waste. They immediately went off the air after this. I guess when they timed this show out, they must have realized they were going to be tight. That's probably why the Adam Pearce segment was done the way it was before the show went on the air, because they aired a replay of the segment, but at least when the replay was over, they could immediately go into whatever was next. Had they done it on the live show, because I think they had the podium in the ring with the belt. I don't remember if they had the red carpet in the ring for it, but there just wouldn't have been enough time, I guess, to kind of take all that down, and they were trying to save on time. That would be my guess as to why they did that before the show went on the air, instead of just doing it on the air. I'm not sure why they didn't just do it the way they did it on SmackDown. That was a pre-taped segment with Nick Aldis in the back. But that's the way they chose to do it. Match-wise, this was not a great show. This was a pretty terrible show. If you judge it just based on the matches and the in-ring action. Although the main event I thought was good, but they repeated the same finish in back-to-back tag team matches with the interference and the bullshit that I didn't like. The Breakker and Kaiser match, I mean, it was good, but again, it had that lame disqualification finish. The New Day match wasn't a match. It was an angle, a great angle, but as a match, it was a minute. It wasn't really a match. But again, the main event was good. That is now back-to-back really good television main events that Nia Jax has been in. One on SmackDown, one on Raw. The match with Naomi was very good. The match with Bianca here was good, but not as good as the match with Naomi. So, hat tip to Nia Jax. Back-to-back good television main events. Story-wise, this was a very strong show tonight. The New Day segment is what led the way. They set the table nicely for next week's show with that. We know the tournament for the Intercontinental title is going to begin next week. And they set the table nicely, I think, for Survivor Series as well. I'm not thrilled with the women's WarGames buildup. It hasn't been great. I'm not sure it even needs to be a WarGames match. That could have been an elimination match. But I thought as far as, setting things up with the advantage match, you had the pull-apart brawl with Sheamus and Breakker and Kaiser. That was good. So, that stuff was enjoyable. It was a fun show on the whole. If you were watching this show for great matches, then you didn't get great matches tonight. But that's not what the intent of tonight's show was. They wanted to get you hyped up not only for Survivor Series, but for next week's Raw. They were really promoting two shows tonight, not just one. But I had fun with it. I thought it was a good show overall. What did you think of Raw before Survivor Series? 81.8% thumbs up, 18.2% thumbs down. And I just realized that we have hit our goal. Oh my. We had our goal. I didn't even notice until just now. But yes, indeed, we have hit our goal. Which means that you are getting...
amazing Gunther.
Oh. Here's one of the reasons why we hit our goal.
Gunther, the magnificent. All hail Gunther.
M. Mills contributing to the goal. You're getting 2 rounds of Be the Booker tonight. That's what you have just unlocked. You know what's great about that? If we fuck up the first one, we have the second one. We can't possibly fuck both of them up, right?
It's the amazing Gunther.
And this is the one that sealed the deal.
Loves Gunther, the magnificent. All hail Gunther.
This is the one that sealed the deal with our boy Uffman.
I love you, Solo. You are my tribal chief.
Phil Dog. Thank you for the $15, Phil Dog. Your tribal chief salutes you. Abu Sika says Bukaki.
I'm the Bukaki ghost. Oh my goodness. Oh my.
Oh boy. Oh my goodness. Take that in the bedroom, please. That's not for public consumption here. Climaxing posthumously, it always gets me. When the ghost comes out and he is climaxing posthumously. Shut the fuck up. Fuck that tree. Speaking of posthumously, I wish we would be talking about that gimmick posthumously. You know, the Learning Tree is defending his Ring of Honor World Championship on Dynamite this Wednesday against Tomohiro Ishii. We're getting an ROH title match. I'm sure you're all very excited. All right, well, before we can get into Be the Booker, of course, we've got to get through these messages here. We got a bunch of them, so let's start with the early ones here that aren't even on this list. Like Jay Lopez says, the Judgment Day, out with the old and in with the new. Could this be the trend? A good way to build stars if you ask me. But you know better, you rule.
Yee.
Yee. Yeah, Jey Uso agrees. So basically the idea is what? Do you keep rotating new members of the Judgment Day? Like, give them a new leader? Just start a new faction. Just start a new faction. You don't need 10 different versions of the Judgment Day. I agree, like, having a faction is a great way to build character with some people. But I don't think it has to be the Judgment Day. Jerome Eugenio, American Made, has found the formula to win matches. Just don't include Gable in their matches. You know what? You may be onto something. The Real CS says 1 year already. Damn. Hashtag CM Punk. It's hard to believe, right? It's already been a year. Ragnarok. New Day contender for segment of the year. I know Woods is the most likely, but I'd still rather see a true heel Kofi. Heel Kofi. He was pretty brutal in some of the things he said about Woods. Yeah, I'd be down for heel Kofi. They could pull that off. I'm not against it. Fire Panda with the $50 magenta super chat. You know what my favorite color? Oh, actually red. Then magenta. Next Monday is going to be crazy. I get to drink heavily, be here with you guys, and the New Day split for my 22nd birthday. Hell to the yeah. Oh man, we're going to be celebrating next week. It's Fire Panda's birthday, and Fire Panda is bringing the booze. Who wants in? NWO Matt. Can we get more Solomonster roasting and shitting on fanboys on Twitter? That was awesome. Yeah, but that would require me to engage with them. You're not supposed to engage with them too often. It's bad for your health. I'm sure it'll happen at some point, though. I'm sure there'll be a good rant in me at some point about something. George freaking Seckman. Put the women's tag titles on the Metaphor and leave it on NXT. That's fine with me. Leave the titles on NXT. It's fine with me. We don't need them on Raw and SmackDown. Power Spying Games, just super chatting to say that Drake is a loser. You heard it from Power Spying Games. Drake is a loser. Look, everyone, it's Samoa BRO. Bobby's World with a $50 super chat. Did I hear Magenta Bomb goal? Here's my contribution to our tribal chief. Great rant on the AW sickos, and shout out to my GWO brothers and sisters. Yeah, shout out to all of you. Bobby's World, thank you very much. I got a lot of good feedback to that segment on the podcast. And again, no lies, I don't think, in anything that I said there. Alex with the 25. Brother Solo, a feud between Kofi and Woods, potentially culminating at WrestleMania, was not a feud I thought we needed, but sign me up. How much of a factor do you think Big E will be, and can you see him being a potential guest referee? I can, yeah. I can. I think that he has to be involved. And if he's going to be involved, if there's going to be a match, then he should be present. And being a referee, you know, again, being a referee, I think is feasible even if he's not allowed to wrestle, but I don't know what the rules are with Big E as far as physicality. I don't. So maybe it's not something that's physically possible where they would allow it, but I think that would be a role for him that would make sense if they have a match. Yuri says Rhea versus Bianca would be awesome. Of course it would be. I knew it would be awesome the minute they did that Royal Rumble finish back in 2021. It's too bad there were no fans there. But you could just watch it and tell you knew then these two women are the future of that women's division for the next 5 years. And they still have yet to have that one big singles match on a really big stage, like a SummerSlam or a WrestleMania. That's a WrestleMania match.
Solomonster, look! I got tickets! I got tickets! One for me, and one for you. Yeet.
Oh, Baby Solo has tickets. He's so excited. Look at that. It sounds like his balls haven't dropped yet. That's okay. Ian, thank you for the 27. Winston says the twist is that Bianca did it. See, I can't see it, because why would Bianca, I mean, just to throw people off, why would she willingly throw away her chance to win the US title and become the first ever United States champion? Because when she went to the back to go check on Jade, she basically forfeited her spot in the match. It just, I don't think that makes a lot of sense. George says, this is for calling me Boy George. Thank you for the 7. I didn't even realize I did it until after I did it. I just said, oh boy, it's George. I said, oh shit, I called him Boy George. Yuri, funny fact, as a kid, I was like, who's this disciple guy in the NWO? When I found out it was Beefcake, I was like, LOL, of course. Of course, that was gimmick number 8. How fast can you name all of the Ed Leslie gimmicks? Brutus Beefcake. There was Runnin' Man. Look that one up. Didn't last very long, but he was Runnin' Man. The Booty Man. Zodiac. The Disciple. I think there was one more. Wasn't there one more? Maybe that's all of them. And George, thank you for the 2 months of membership. Yuri, I'm thankful for my aunt's lasagna every year. I'm sure your aunt's lasagna is very good. Unfortunately, it probably has lots of cheese, so I can't have it. But enjoy. Fire Panda channel member for 26 months. Dominic has been looking very annoyed with Finn. I wonder if Dom will kick Finn out of the Judgment Day and take over as the leader. It may even cause Finn to let out his demon. Dom taking over the Judgment Day. I hadn't thought about that. Dom is a leader of anything right now? I don't know. You know what, though? I think he could probably make it work. He could probably make it work. I hadn't thought about it, but I'm not entirely opposed to that. No, he was not Renegade. He never had a he was never Renegade. No. Renegade is dead. Renegade was the Ultimate Warrior knockoff. He's long since gone. Ian Noel says, happy Thanksgiving ahead of time. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Thankful for your podcast and the community through ups and downs, of course. If Finn kicks off, I think he means kicks out, Carlito and Dom, who should be their replacements in Finn's Judgment Day? I don't know. I mean, replacing them in the Judgment Day. I don't know. I mean, Theory and Waller? I don't know. I feel like Theory and Waller could have worked in that group. The thing is, they're on SmackDown, and they've been teasing a split now for a long time. But the Judgment Day has really been about character building, because you get those clubhouse segments, and there's always some kind of drama. So it's a good way to try to develop characters on the shows. Who do you think would benefit from that character development the most? I think is really what the question is. Anybody can benefit from more character development, you know? Right now we have 2 women in the Judgment Day. We have Liv and Raquel, so I don't think we need another woman in there. But it really boils down to who do you think would benefit the most? Who is either not being utilized right now enough, or just maybe isn't being utilized the right way, who would benefit from being a part of a faction like that? Ask yourself that question and come up with some ideas, because off the top of my head, I don't know. I don't think there's any obvious answer. I mean, I kind of threw out Waller in theory, but I'd rather they just split those 2 up already. Yuri. KO has been doing solid work for a while now. That shows he's deserving of another title run. Perfect heel to drop the title to an upcoming face or star getting their moment, maybe Sami. Sami Zayn winning his first world championship on the main roster from Kevin Owens. I don't see it. I don't see it happening, but that would be... Actually, that would be kind of appropriate. Look, I made the pitch weeks ago, and I made it weeks ago on TNT when we did our Tuesday Night Titan show, and he was kind of surprised when I said it, but if it were me, if you give me the power of the pen, I put the title on Kevin Owens on Saturday night's main event. I said that a month ago, and I feel the same way now. There's no harm in putting the title on Kevin Owens, even if you have to have it back on Cody Rhodes in time for WrestleMania. Cody wins the belt back. And I'm not even sure he has to before WrestleMania. But if he absolutely must have it back before WrestleMania, we're going to do something with Cody and The Rock or something like that, which is far bigger than Kevin Owens. I get it. There's no harm in putting the title on Kevin Owens. Shaking things up a little bit. Big title change on Saturday night's main event, taking us into the new year. He's been doing great work as a heel lately. He hasn't been doing good work. He's been doing great work. And I would love to see it. Yuri says, Larry, Punk's dog is more over than most. That is true. My pops was a big Hutski, Dusty, Sammartino, Morales fan. Do you have any family that predates you who... and who did they like? Well, I mean, I became a wrestling fan because my father and his father first were wrestling fans. I don't know if I'd be a wrestling fan if I wasn't, watching it because they had it on. So I was watching it when I was 4, 5. That's when I started. Their favorites? I don't know about my grandfather, but my father, he was a fan of Bruno. He was a fan of, I think Backlund. And those guys from that time period, but Andre, obviously. So yeah, those were some of his favorites. Hogan, when Hogan came along and won the title. Oz and Glorious with the 5. Says, Tony Khan's missteps aside, toxic, hypocrite, corporate money punk has no ethics. Fuck that guy for trying to burn down AEW for a year plus just to get his way. Oz and Glorious has not forgiven CM Punk for all the chaos that reigned in AEW. Dev to Dust. I watched Game 6 of the Red Sox against the Mets in the 1986 World Series on YouTube. That 10th inning is some of the best stuff I've seen in baseball. It's the stuff of legend. Boots with the $50 super chat. I think the biggest heel in the IWC podcasts has to be Ryan Seacrest.
I love you, Solo. You are my tribal chief.
Maze says, my mother loved Shawn Michaels. Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Mama Monster loved Shawn Michaels as well. Because she was forced to watch a lot of that New Generation era stuff when I was watching it, and I was doing my own wrestling magazine at the time. Very amateur, but I was still doing one. And Yeah, she was she liked Bret Hart too, but she was a Shawn Michaels fan. Undertaker. Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you remember the episode where I had her on for Mother's Day, I quizzed her, and you could tell like she still remembered a lot of those names. She did pretty well on the quiz, not for nothing. If you ever want to go back and listen to it, it's episode 495. It's still my favorite episode. But anyway, Boots says, I think the biggest heel in the IWC podcasts has to be Ryan Seacrest. Just when the sound off is getting good, Seacrest will interrupt with some sale happening at Safeway. You know, I have no control over the types of ads. Only where they go. I position them where it's not interrupting me in the middle of a sentence, at least. What they actually end up being, I have no control over. That's all Spreaker. So don't look at me. I remember I got a message from, I think it was Noah. Noah texted me once. He goes, you know, every single ad has a Home Depot ad. Like, some people were like, I'm never going to shop at Home Depot ever again. Because I've heard it like 12 times during the podcast. I said, I wish Home Depot would come to me directly and become a sponsor of the show. I'll plug Home Depot. Buy a lot of shit there. Yuri says, titles should be regularly defended. Otherwise, what's the point? As for New Day, it'll be sad seeing the split if they split up. Maybe time, though, especially for Xavier Woods. Chumba Casino. What's Chumba Casino? Is that one of the ads? Stadium J. Talk your shit, Solo. You've been doing this for a very long time, and I appreciate it. Anything change in your mind about who attacked Jade Cargill? No, I still think it's going to end up being Bayley, but could be Naomi. It really could go either way. I don't think it's Bianca. I've ruled out Bianca in my mind. It comes down to Bayley or Naomi, and I'm going to stick with Bayley. But if it ends up being Naomi, I wouldn't be surprised. And I'm fine with that. Because I think Naomi would benefit from a heel turn even more than Bayley would. Majed is a channel member now. Welcome, brother. Derek J. Speaks. If Jade's out long, I got Bianca high on the list of favorites to win the Royal Rumble. Could finally get her against Rhea. Thanks for everything you do, Solo. If it gets us Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair at WrestleMania, then I'm all for Bianca Belair winning the Royal Rumble. Even though I see the comparisons out there, Bianca Hogan, brother, Bianca Super Cena, Super Bianca. They protect her, but you know what? She has been downplayed for most of the year. She's been in this team with Jade. They've been trying to establish Jade. They've used Bianca to try to do that, and Bianca has been out of the world title picture now for the majority of the year, if not the entire year. So feels like the right time for her to get back now in the top mix. She's too good to be pushed down to the middle of the card. Jeremy Rose says, love the work guys like Woods, Kofi, and even Cross have been doing lately. Very entertaining, and they continue it on social media, which is great. I like that too. Cross's stuff, when he posts videos on social media and YouTube and stuff, I mean, a lot of that stuff is great. It doesn't always translate on TV. I thought the Cross segment tonight was good. As that stuff goes, as that story goes, I thought it was good. But he and Scarlett, they show more personality doing the stuff that doesn't air on TV than the stuff that does. I just wish we would see more of that on TV, but we're starting to see him be a little more, I think, expressive in that way, instead of just doing the same character we've seen him doing now for the last few years. Hopefully he'll evolve that as time goes on. Yuri says, New Day was the best thing for a year or two. What year are you talking about? You talking about 2016, 2017? Because it wasn't 2024, and it wasn't 2023, or 22, or 21. So what year are you talking about? Jeremy Rose, who do you think is the best women's performer today? Io Sky. I think she's great. I have a lot of female performers, though, who I think I would have on my favorites list for this year. Willow Nightingale's another one. Io Sky and Willow Nightingale are pretty much at the top of my list. I think they're great. But you have a lot of great, very talented female performers. It would not be hard, I think, to populate that list, but Io and Willow have killed it. Chris Statlander is another one.
I am the Lord.
Shut the fuck up. Fuck that tree. Karrion Kross has one of the best Jesse Ventura impersonations I've ever heard. It's awesome. And Will Sasso also. Will Sasso and Karrion Kross probably have the two best Jesse Ventura impressions that I've ever heard. M. Mills with the $50 super chat. No message. Just showing some love and helping us get to our goal tonight. M. Mills, you're awesome. Thank you. Avwunu with the 7. How and when do you do Dom against Funny? What? Come again? Dom against Funny? With 5 women's titles, I feel like that's too much, and some will get lost in the shuffle, especially with women's tag. Best of 7, Punk vs. Austin, or Orton against Avwunu. I think you're celebrating Fire Panda's birthday a week early. We're not breaking into the liquor cabinet until next Monday. But I'll agree with you on one thing. The only thing I really understood, that yes, I think that they should either retire the women's tag team titles or move them back to NXT. I agree with you on that. I think that person meant Bad Bunny. I don't know if he did, but they're not doing Dom and Bad Bunny, so you don't have to worry about that. I still maintain Dom against Rhea. You could still do that match. Uffman Entertainment with a $50 bomb. Another Be the Booker. Let's do this. Let's do this, he says. Oh, we're going to do it. It's going down here in a few minutes. It's going down here. Crack those knuckles and get ready. Here, I'll crack mine. There you go. Crack those knuckles and let's get ready. Phil Dog says, I think the women's IC title finals might be January 6th on Netflix. That's a good point. That's a good point. But that's, I don't know. That's still, what is that? 5 weeks? You really need 5 weeks? Maybe, though. I mean, they're going to be loading that show up. So it wouldn't surprise me. NWO Matt, for all the years I've been listening since TV Tracks. Solo, you got me through tough times. Well, I'm glad you got through those tough times. You came out on the other side, a better person for it. Yeah, a lot of people got into things that, well, they discovered the show through TV Tracks. For those who don't know, TV Tracks was a YouTube channel, and it would kind of use clips from different podcasts that he was a fan of. He was a big fan of the show and had come to me early on, and I was still trying to get the show out there more. And he was like, well, you know, I could post clips. And I'm like, yeah. So he would have clips of the Sound Off, Don Tony's show. Eventually, he started with some Wrestling Soup clips, but it was really me and DTKC. And both of us, like, picked up a lot of new listeners because of the exposure, because TV Tracks had 80,000 subscribers almost on YouTube. And then one day, he just retired. He took a vacation and never came back. Wherever he is, I hope he's doing well. But we picked up a lot of new listeners, and people discovered the show because of TV Tracks. So I will always be very appreciative to him for that. We got Manuel Macias. I feel anxious attending the first Raw on Netflix alone since I don't have any wrestling friends, but I did not want to miss it since I live in Fresno. You don't have to feel anxious at all, man. I've been to wrestling events by myself in the past occasionally and never had a problem. Still enjoyed the show. It's going to be a big show too, so you picked a good one to go to. Jeremy Rose, a lot of these performers have really slept. I need sleep. A lot of these performers have really stepped up recently. Folks like Nia, for example, have really improved in the Triple H era. Says something about being in a good working environment. Well, look, I mean, Nia got a lot of shit, and some of it deservedly so. But you cannot deny that this run that she's been on, as compared to her last run, and the matches that she's had, have been, I mean, a noticeable improvement. Noticeable improvement. Manuel says, does Randy Orton cost Kevin Owens the title? Or does Owens lose clean again? I almost feel like he can't lose. What are your thoughts? So title change can be fun. A title change can be fun, and a title change story-wise can absolutely work here. And I do think Randy Orton is likely to show up at Saturday night's main event. The only question is, does he show up during the match, or does he show up after the match? If he shows up during the match and gets involved, you have that as a built-in excuse to run it back again, but maybe as a triple threat match. Maybe they want to do that match on the first Raw on Netflix. They're going to have a bunch of SmackDown people on Raw. You're going to see John Cena. You're going to see Cody Rhodes. You're going to see Roman Reigns. The Rock may be there, right? Everybody. It's all hands on deck. So maybe they do the finish in a way that allows them to run it back on that show. There's always the possibility of a triple threat. Somebody floated the idea to me on Twitter, and I wasn't against it, that Kevin Owens wins the championship next month. Randy Orton wins the Royal Rumble. And then somehow you work Cody Rhodes into it, and the WrestleMania match is Cody, KO, and Randy in a triple threat match for the WWE title. I mean, there's any number of ways that you can do it. Changing the title is something that I think would be a great idea. And it would really shake things up in a positive way, instead of just the predictable route of Cody wins again, he beats KO again. That's fucking boring. That's boring. He already beat Kevin Owens once. For him to go in there and just beat him again, I just don't see what's accomplished with that. Retro KOH. What if Bianca forgives Bayley, only to find out that Bayley attacked Jade? She wins the U.S. title, and Bianca pursues her for the U.S. title. I don't think Bianca Belair is going to be going after the mid-card title. Not right now. I just feel like if Jade is not going to be back in time for Mania, I still support doing Rhea and Bianca. If they're not going to do Rhea and Bianca, then sure. You could have her go after the mid-card title. But if Bianca's going to win the U.S. title, it's like, I understand you want big name, and I agree with this, by the way, that like in the finals of the tournament, or maybe the first person who holds the title, it should be a name. I don't think that you want a Blair Davenport or an Elektra Lopez or a Chelsea Green even to be the first U.S. champion. I think you want to get that title on somebody who's more established, so they can help establish the title. And then they can lose it. They can transition it over to a Chelsea Green or somebody like that, who could then benefit from holding it, and benefit from holding it having beaten a name for it. So all these people, I feel like it's very short-sighted that people are saying, oh, well, it's a mid-card title. It has to go on somebody who's not a big name, like a Bianca or a big, because they don't need it. Of course they don't need it. But you're looking at it all wrong. Like, you want to establish that championship as something meaningful out of the gate. You need to have it on somebody meaningful. It's like John Cena holding the U.S. title. Same concept. And then it will eventually end up on a Michin or a Chelsea Green, or the Intercontinental title. It will end up on maybe Kiana James when she comes back and they can get her going on Raw. Or someone like that. But I think you want to establish it with somebody who already has a name and maybe has been a world champion before. Nick Grasso with the 1999. That's right, cash in that Charlotte in the bank. Cash in that Charlotte in the bank. Nick Grasso says, what if Bayley and Naomi are in on it together? Bayley is sus because Jade gets taken out and a spot opens up for her. And Naomi was turned away at the hospital and she shut Bianca down fast when she talked about finding the attack. So you would turn them both heel instead of just one. Possible. Don't forget, they both have something to gain because both of them are in the U.S. title tournament. And Jade is out of it now. Jade would have been a favorite. So Jade being out of it benefits Naomi and it benefits Bayley. Antonio Taylor, I thought the New Day gimmick was the most embarrassing thing ever when it started. It's hard to imagine they've been around this long. Hey, look, it's a testament to their staying power and their merch power. They've sold a shitload of merch over the years. It's not easy to stay over for 10 years. And I'm not saying that they have been as over for all 10 years as they were at whatever you consider to be their peak. Again, these last few years, to me, they've been a non-factor. They've been just out of the mix. Nothing going on. Nothing interesting going on. The pancake stuff, I fucking hated that shit. So I'm not saying that the entire 10-year run they've been, top tier. But it's not easy to keep the same team or the same group together for 10 years and still have those peaks and valleys where you can come out and pop the crowd and the people are into it. And you're over. And you're moving merch and you're making money for the company. You don't go completely flat. It's a hard thing to do. Ian Noel with the $27 says, have you seen the BTS of Punk's return from last year? I did. I watched it. It's a 9-minute video. It's basically a 9-minute little documentary. I say documentary, it's just a camera following Punk around when he was ushered into the gorilla position at Survivor Series last year. And then him going out, and then the post-match when some of the guys came back, except Seth Rollins. If Seth Rollins came back and was hugging Punk and welcoming him back, they cut that part out. I'm glad they did. But you see, like, Sami Zayn comes back, Cody and Jey Uso, and then Randy Orton's like, you couldn't give me 10 fucking minutes to enjoy my return. Yeah, no, that was great. It's funny, too, because Stephanie was sitting next to Triple H at Gorilla. There's a lot of history there. I remember when Punk left and he did the podcast and all the horrible things he said about the company, and the reports were like, Stephanie hates Punk and hates his guts. Time, man. Time heals all wounds. Says, also, when do you think we will get a Drew McIntyre against Wade Barrett match? Because they've planted seeds already. Does he blame Wade for his problems with Punk? No, I don't think he blames Wade for his problems with Punk, but maybe for not having his back in the way that he feels he should have. You could build a story around it. If Wade was going to come back and do a match, that would be the match. Maybe WrestleMania, because I don't know what else you do with Drew McIntyre. He's not really being factored in, and it would be kind of a slap in the face after the year that he's had to not get him in some kind of feature role at WrestleMania. He's had an incredible year. McIntyre and Wade Barrett, you could do that at WrestleMania. I could see that. Maze the Great, channel member for 41 months. 41. It's amazing. OM2 Cool, do you think Shawn Michaels has the greatest comeback story in wrestling? From being on top, to drugs, to retiring, then returning and having an even better second run, to now heading NXT alongside his best friend and ushering in the future. Hard to find one that is better than that, when you put it that way. I think you could have just said he had 2 different careers. It really is like, you know, you had that first career and then the crash, because he really hit rock bottom during that time, and he was injured and thought his career was over. Came back 4 years later after the big back injury and was a very different person. The Shawn Michaels, I don't lay down for anybody, was gone, and now this was a different Shawn Michaels. And he went on to have this incredible second leg of his career, and then you could just kind of end it there, and that would be an amazing comeback story. But then you add in the fact that, yeah, he's heading up developmental for them now. I mean, like, he's like the sensei for all of these guys now that are going to be the big stars on WWE television 5 and 10 years from now. Bron Breakker and Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams, all these people that we see now that are going to be on top then. And he's the one, you know, he's the one kind of leading the charge down there and building the future. Look what he's doing with the women right now. Look at what he's doing with the women in NXT. And the influence that he has in this company. He shouldn't even be here right now. Like, the path that he was going down, he should have been gone a long time ago. I mean, I hate to say it, but a lot of his contemporaries are not. He got lucky. The shit that he was doing and the shit that he was taking at that time, he's lucky to even be alive right now. So to go from that to where he is now, yes, I would call that the greatest comeback story. Brandon Vasquez, Omos against Alberto Del Rio and be the booker. Trying to speak it into existence, because why not? It doesn't matter what you speak into existence, it's only me. I'm the booker. And I am not going to speak that into existence. I would never do such a thing. Jeremy says another reason for Cody to lose the belt to Kevin Owens is so Cody can enter the Royal Rumble with a chance to three-peat.
I love you, Solo. You are my tribal chief.
Would be a story that they can push. You can. He better fucking not win for a third time. I honestly, though, I think it's a dangerous thing to do, because now you get to a point where even the threat of Cody winning a third Royal Rumble, I think you're going to start to get people turning against him. You're going to have John Cena in that Royal Rumble. You're going to have other people that, you know, the fans are going to want to see go over more than Cody. Like, he's already gotten it twice. They're not going to want to see it a third time. They're not going to want to see it back-to-back again. You run the risk, I think, of really turning people against him by even teasing that. And I don't think that's what they want. Base Beerus, my grandma used to call Hogan the Christian. The Christian? Why? Because he had a cross around his neck? Yes, because he was so virtuous. Yuri, I remember watching Young. One of my youngest memories is telling my favorite uncle and dad, I think Razor and HBK are my faves. This was after getting their wrestling toys at KB. Oh, I remember the KB days. KB Toy and Hobby. How many of you remember KB Toys? It wasn't just Toys R Us. It was Toys R Us and it was KB Toys. God, I remember that feeling. You remember that feeling when you would go to the toy store or you were in the mall? We had a KB Toys in the mall and I would see, you know, the sign. And I was just like, oh my God, I would go running towards the store, that feeling that just fills you up of joy. And you would go aisle by aisle and you're looking for the wrestling figures and there it is, right? Or, you know, in my case, it was the wrestling figures or the Ninja Turtles figures. We had thumb wrestlers back then. You'd stick your thumb up their ass and you'd fucking play the thumb wrestlers. Those were the days. You don't have that anymore. There's no toy stores left anymore. Everything's on fucking Amazon. I feel bad now for the kids today. They don't have the same experience that we had. You don't have that brick and mortar anymore, man. It's all gone. There used to be a Toys R Us not far from where I am. It's been abandoned now for the last 6 years. You still see Toys R Us. It's all graffitied outside. It's fucking depressing. Ian Noel. put together an all-star traditional Survivor Series match between Ruthless Aggression made stars and the current stars. Oh, you're asking me to book matches? I don't know. That's a mailbag question. I have no idea. There's any number of matches that you can come up with, but I don't know. I mean, that's too involved. That's too involved. There's so many choices. I mean, Ruthless Aggression, you got to have Kurt Angle and Brock, Eddie and Benoit. And then as far as current, I mean, look, you want to put Bron Breakker in there with prime Kurt Angle? Go right ahead. Go right ahead. I'd love to see that. AJ Styles against Kurt Angle. Brock Lesnar from 2002 or 2003 in there with Jacob Fatu today. Or Bron Breakker today. Gold Matthew, Solo, you're 13 again. Book me a... What is with these booking questions? Book me a Survivor Series tag match with your 5... Is this the same question that Ian just sent? 5 favorite faces and 5 most despised heels? All I know is that if you're going to do a Survivor Series match, you got to get prime Kurt Angle, prime Bret Hart, 96 Shawn Michaels. If you want to have like a really fun match, you make sure those guys are in there. If you get Flair in there too, Savage. Kind of mix them all. I don't even care who's on what team, as long as they're like in the same match. Luis has been a channel member for 42 months. We had somebody before. Maze was 41. Luis is 42. Says, I'm extremely grateful to have 2 outstanding girl best friends in Cindy and Danielle for factoring in my breakup with such a poisonous girlfriend. I feel much better now, thanks to them. Interesting. Luis, I need to know more about this poisonous girlfriend. Was her name Ivy? No, I need to know more now. You can't leave me hanging like this. You have to spill the tea. We all want to know. Uffman, if Bailey and Naomi are your top picks, who are your dark horse long shot picks? For what? The US title tournament? I mean, Chelsea Green. It's not going to be either one of them. It should be Chelsea Green. Yuri. In regards to the New Day, yeah, probably 2016 to 2018, but they did that for a while. What was the year they had that great Hell in a Cell match with the Usos? Was that 2016 or 2017? I think 2016. That was a great match. I think that was the best of all their matches. Jay Lopez. I agree, but don't you think the name Judgment Day is the hook for new stars? I agree it will eventually... No, I think the Judgment Day is a terrible fucking name for a faction. I said that when they first formed. I said the Judgment Day. It's a fucking pay-per-view. Not a faction name. And I still feel the same way. But thank you, Jay Lopez. You rule too. I appreciate that. Retro KOH. Sound Off Gamer recommendation. Terror Dome. Rise of the Boogeyman. It's Mortal Kombat with your favorite horror monsters like Freddy, Jason, Candyman, etc. Well, that sounds interesting. Is that on Steam, though? Is that Steam? Because I would be playing through the through Windows. If it is, though, I would consider it. Boots, do we see a blue bar cage match at Saturday night's main event? I wish. Sadly, no. Yuri says, wait, we're not taking some drinks to your stream until Monday. Whoops. I didn't say you can't. I just said Fire Panda is celebrating next Monday. I didn't say you can't celebrate this week. It's Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving. It's a holiday week. You can party all day and all night if you want. NWO Matt, 9 months of channel membership. So TV Tracks went out for milk. Yeah, and he never came home. Went out for some milk and never came home. If only Robert Stack were still alive, he would tell us all about it on Unsolved Mysteries. George Seckman, read my lips, no new stipulations today. Is that a challenge? Did you just challenge me? Yuri says, best face of Foley. Fun fact, he met his wife, according to his book, right down the road from where I grew up. We see him out here sometimes. He was at the GCW show the other day with Kurt Angle. The best face of Foley is Mankind. The original Mankind especially. Mankind was a great character. Jeremy Rose with the $15. Thank you, Jeremy. Here's a crazy thought. Drew returns at Survivor Series and attacks Punk, making it 5-on-4, and costing OG Bloodline the match because he's still obsessed with Punk and the Bloodline's demise. I kind of like that idea, actually. He can't stand to see Punk thriving and helping, of all people, Roman Reigns. And so he wants to just fuck it all up. You know, in many ways, I feel like Drew McIntyre is kind of like the Hangman Page of WWE. Or maybe the Hangman Page is the Drew McIntyre of AEW. Just their characters, you know? Being obsessed with taking down this person or these people that they feel wronged them in some way and just being completely obsessed. I mean, Hangman's a total, you know, wackadoo at this point, but I feel like there's a similarity between their characters. Devin from New Jersey, and they both don't like Punk. Devin from New Jersey, my coworker says that Sami Zayn is the new Big Show because of how inconsistent his character is. Does Solo agree? He can't be the new Big Show unless they turn him heel and then turn him back babyface about 5 more times. Now, I kind of look at Sami Zayn as the Mick Foley of WWE. He tends to wear flannel sometimes. He reminds me of Foley when he does. Actually, he's probably more like the Larry David of WWE. Base Beer says, don't be a lemon. I don't like lemons. Don't like lemons, or Don Lemon. Manuel Macias, does reading make you smarter in your opinion? Yes. You know how I know this? Because of all the people that I usually hear from on social media when they're, you know, slinging insults and all kinds of bullshit at me. And they claim that I said this or I did that or pushing whatever narrative. And I realize at that point that these people, they can't read. And they can't listen. They might be deaf. You know, they clearly don't listen to the show. So I think reading and listening make you smarter. Yuri says KB had the best selections. It really did. Thomas, celebrating 10 months of membership. Solo, you are my tribal queen. Ah, that's it. You're gone. Revoking your membership right now. I'm no tribal queen. My tribal queen is out there somewhere, but you better be careful here. Uffman Entertainment for taking out Jade. Oh, for taking out Jade. That's what he was talking about for Bayley and Bianca. Dark Horse? Who's the Dark Horse pick for having taken out Jade? You know what? I guess the Dark Horse would be... The Dark Horse would be Bianca. Because I don't think it's her. But there's a chance it could be. Yeah, someone like Nia or Tiffany, like that's too obvious. So it would either have to be Bianca for the big swerve, or it would have to be a brand new person who has not debuted yet. And that could be a way to establish them on the main roster. So maybe somebody new coming up from NXT. Otherwise, there's no other dark horse that I could think of. And Boots with a 5. When Charlotte returns, oh, wait a minute. I forgot about her. Maybe Charlotte. Maybe Charlotte's a dark horse. Maybe Charlotte took out Jade Cargill. When Charlotte returns, does she wear the customary sleeveless denim jacket over a black leather jacket? No, she's got her own style. She's not like MJF came. Oh shit, I forgot. Scared the fucking shit out of me. I forgot that was still on. Oh my god, I almost shit myself. Yeah, no, she's not MJF coming back and copying Triple H. She's got her own style. Phil Dog says Lash Legend could be the dark horse. It could be. It could be. Well, the goal tonight, as it usually is, was 400 likes. We're currently at 503, so we smashed the goal, and the other goal we had, which was at least 5 magenta super chats, we hit that goal, which means we get to do Be the Booker not once, but twice. Because you guys earned it. So let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to Be the Booker.
It's going to be fun. This is going to be fun. We get not 1, but 2 rounds of Be the Booker here. I want both rounds to be bells. I want a clean sweep for both. That's what I'm aiming for. Dance break for Solomonster. I heard the air horn. I'm like, what the hell? Where's that coming from? All right, here we go. I know this is what you've been waiting for, so let's start out here with RVD and Sabu, the former ECW Tag Team Champions. Tony McCann is with us. I love you too, Tony. Better share your stash with me. RVD and Sabu. You guys big RVD and Sabu fans from their team in ECW? They're going to be taking on the team of Austin Aries and Bobby Roode from TNA, the Dirty Heels. Dirty Heels were a great team, and that would be a great match. Aries and Roode against RVD and Sabu. I like it. I like it. That's a great start. That is a great start. Yuri's got one coming in here, a super chat. Favorite cartoon from your youth? That would be He-Man. It was He-Man and Thundercats. That's what it was for me. All right, women's Be the Booker. We begin with Saraya, who is currently taking a break from AEW. I think she's filming some projects. She says she's taking a break. Funny, I haven't heard anybody complaining about that. Say, hey, where's Saraya? I miss Saraya. No one's been saying anything about Saraya. But she's in Be the Booker, so she's making her return here for one night only. Saraya is going to go one-on-one with Wendy Chu. Aren't you happy we're doing 2 rounds of Be the Booker tonight instead of just 1? Well, that's a miss. That sucked. All right, main event time. It's like WrestleMania. We get 2 nights. This is the night 1 WrestleMania main event that we're about to book. Paige here. Forgot about that. Paige here. It's Jushin Thunder Liger. Always welcome in my main events. Liger is always well. Oh, someone's talking about me. I got a ringing in my ear. Someone's talking about me. I hope it's good. All right, Jushin Thunder Liger in the main event, and Liger. I don't believe his first time in the main event here. Liger going to be taking out who? Who's it going to be? It's going to be Liger, and it's going to be Solo Sikoa. Well, well. We get to reset and start all over again. 1 for 3 is terrible. Terrible. If Jushin Liger was going to come back for one more match out of retirement, you could do better than Solo Sikoa. Don't give me this bell bullshit. Don't give me this bell bullshit. Thank God you're not booking these shows. It is odd. It's a very odd matchup. All right, let's run this back again. Surely we could do better than 1 for 3. All right. We have a familiar face here. We've landed on these guys a few times. The Killer Bees. B. Brian Blair and Jumpin' Jim Brunzell. A great technical tag team. Like, technically, very, very good team. And the Killer Bees are going to take on Paul London and Brian Kendrick, the former WWE Tag Team Champions. I would open my show with this match. I would open that. Kendrick and London against the Killer Bees for the tag team titles. I would open my show with that. And I think these 4 guys would tear it up. All right. Well, that's how we started the last round. We opened with a bell, and then it was all downhill from here. So now we have to improve. All right. No Paige this time. No Wendy Chu facing Saraya. We could do better. Thank you. Thank you. Io Sky. Can't do much better than that. A wonderful Io Sky, former NXT Women's Champion, former SmackDown Women's Champion, or Raw. SmackDown, right. All these titles look the same. All right, Io Sky. I mean, this is almost guaranteed to be a bell, but it's a formality at this point. Io Sky, and Nikki Cross. How are we feeling about this? Oh boy. I don't know. I don't know about this. I don't know if I'm feeling this. Why don't we pick a stipulation? We'll pick a stipulation. Maybe this will sell me on this. I'm just not sure how I feel about this. Io Sky and Nikki Cross are going to have themselves a table match. All right, well, that's a little more palatable, at least. I don't know. I like that better than just a straight singles match. Can work some cool spots into the match. All right. I give that the bell. All right, we're two for two. We're 2 for 2. All comes down to this. We had ourselves our first ever women's tables match here in Be the Booker, and now we begin with Hollywood Hulk Hogan with his spray-painted NWO belt. Hollywood Hogan made a lot of money, had a lot of big matches in WCW. Hollywood Hogan. One-on-one. Oh no, Gangrel is watching you masturbate. Spin again. This will never not be funny to me. He looks like he is just intently watching exactly what it says that he's doing. He's concentrating very, very hard. Kevin's like, what the fuck? You never know what you're going to land on here and be the booker. What time is it? It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. Hey, it's after dark, baby. I'm not judging. Well, we have to spin again. If Gangrel says we have to spin again, then that's exactly what we're going to have to do. Hollywood Hogan, with Gangrel watching us masturbate, is going to be taking on Powerhouse. Powerhouse Hobbs. And hold on a second. That's a clean sweep. That's a clean sweep. And you know, I would absolutely put Powerhouse Hobbs over in that match, but I can't because Hogan and his lawyer, Henry Holmes, have informed me that he is exercising his creative control clause. And so therefore, Hogan is refusing to lie down and lose this match. That's the unfortunate part. But Hobbs against Hogan, Hobbs would fucking murder Hogan. Absolutely murder him. Hogan is pulling the creative control card, unfortunately. Hogan's worst nightmare. Gee, I wonder you said it, not me. Gee, I wonder why. I wonder why. Arabian Night. Oh, man. WWE, including the X titles, have 13 on the main roster compared to AEW, who has 8. People should no longer complain about Tony Khan having a lot of belts on AEW TV. Including the X title? Are you talking NXT? You said X titles. I thought you were talking about TNA for a second. OM Too Cool. The monster splashing the AEW sickos through the table. Too poor for that specific super chat, but I love you, Solo. Thank you, OM Too Cool. I appreciate that. And Yuri. Solo, land on Killer Bees so often, it's crazy in Be the Booker. It is crazy that I just randomly land on the Killer Bees so often. But there you go. You guys got 2 rounds of Be the Booker, and it's a good thing we did because that second round gave us the clean sweep that we were looking for. It's been a while. So we will try again on Wednesday night. We'll see if we can play some more. It's always fun. That, of course, is going to be the post-Full Gear episode of Dynamite. The Continental Classic kicks off on Wednesday. And I have seen the, not brackets, but I've seen the names announced. And there's some great names, some great talent in the tournament. I'll have more thoughts on that. I'll talk about it on Wednesday. But that tournament kicks off on Wednesday. And Chris Jericho defends the Ring of Honor World Championship against Tomohiro Ishii. So that's what we know so far as Dynamite. And then Friday will be SmackDown, which is taped, but I will still be doing a live review for SmackDown. I will be live after Survivor Series on Saturday. And if you missed episode 889 of the podcast, go check it out. Over 2 hours long, a lot of good stuff in there. A lot of great mailbag questions, too. And every time you stream or download, every stream or download of the show helps the show out a lot. We came in number 2, by the way. We were the number 2 wrestling podcast in the entire country on all of Apple Podcasts today. Second only to Jim Cornette. That fucker still had a stranglehold on that number 1 spot. But not a bad place for us to be number 2. So thank you for that. I will just tell you now. I'll tell you on Wednesday too, but I'll let you know now that for those of you who may not be with us on Wednesday night, it is Thanksgiving Eve on Wednesday. Wherever you may be, if you are celebrating Thanksgiving this week, my fellow Americans, I want to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. I want to thank you for all of your support all year long. I'm thankful for all of you hanging out with me here on these streams every week, every year. Train rolls on. It never stops. But all of your support means the world to me, especially tonight. Tonight is another one of those nights. So I hope you have a very happy Thanksgiving and eat lots of food. I'm going to be having turkey. I'm going to be having stuffing. And yes, I will be having noodle pudding. If you know, you know. I'll be having some kugel. I'll be having some noodle pudding on Thursday. I'm going to be 10 pounds heavier, but that's okay. It's going to be good. Yuri says Hobbs would eat Hogan alive. Forget creative control. Hobbs is going to shoot on him. He's going to go into business for himself. I'll just look the other way. I'll be like the referees. I'll be conveniently distracted. I'll look the other way. Happy Thanksgiving. Come on back on Wednesday night. We'll do it all over again. Until then, gobble gobble.